What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the It Matters podcast. First and foremost, if you want to show your support, don't forget to subscribe to the Facebook page to stay updated with all the content coming up. Now I'd like to tell you something about my friends at Sneaks. Sneaks is basically all about sneakers. These guys are so passionate about the quality of their products and absolutely in love with sneakers. Each pair of them has its own story and personality. However, they believe that sneakers are often the ones who actually find us and not the other way around. And this is how their story started. Do you want to keep going? Choose sneaks and make the step. Today's guest is a teaching assistant in ophthalmology at the Carol Davila University School of Medicine, as well as an ophthalmology specialist at the Bucharest Emergency Eye Hospital in Bucharest. His expertise focuses on chiefly cataract, strabismus and traumatology, but also glaucoma and vitreoretinal pathology. He managed to perform a large number of surgical interventions and made his activity known through both medical presentations at national and international conferences and also published articles. Although medicine plays the most important role among his passions, he is also highly keen on programming and computer science, being also one of the founders of MedicChat, an app that links patients and doctors through its Uber-type interface, a system highly spread in countries like the UK or the US. In his free time, he is an enthusiastic guitar player. Back in the days, he used to sing in various cafes around town with one of his colleagues. He also enjoys mountain hiking, skiing, and playing basketball. With no further introduction, help me in welcoming the man who programs his way through the medical field, Dr. Valentin Dinu.
To know more what is being done to you and not treat it like it's some higher power that you don't have control over. You indeed don't have control over, but the act of knowledge simply gives you a direct relationship with that thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's something that has to do with education or not, but you can't just ignore everything and simply selectively cherry pick whatever aspects of life you're comfortable with.
Of course. And another thing that I would like to talk to you, as we previously agreed, is another hot topic and trending topic, the misanthropy.
Okay.
Because it's in the medical field, it's basically everywhere, and I really don't know why.
This is something you're going to have to define, because when I said that, I think I was referring to myself as a misanthrope, and I wouldn't want to come off as being as highly antisocial as I know I am, but at least I want to fake it a bit more.
Okay. No, I know that when you say that you're misanthrope, you're not necessarily antisocial. You basically have that hatred feeling regarding humans.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about you in particular or anyone in particular. I'm talking about the general feeling which I'm currently seeing basically everywhere, and I really don't know why is that happened. And I was going to ask you if that applies as much as I think to the medical field and in general.
As long as you don't share anything with another person, there's no reason to freely hate them. So,
yeah,
when I first meet somebody, I don't instantly hate them.
Of course,
it takes a while for me to get to hate them, but we'll eventually get there. Whenever I have any dealings with that person, there will come a time where I feel like I feel some sort of toxic feeling toward him or her. In the medical field, I wouldn't say necessarily it's the medical field in itself, it's the medical system in Romania that helps a lot in terms of fostering negative feelings towards your coworker and fellow man. Coworker, because you have to fight over certain things like priorities, like rights. I wouldn't say. I could even say that your place in the queue for promoting, for getting up the academic ladder or socio-professional ladder, And towards your fellow man, as in patience, you can sometimes get sick of them because of them not being as you would want them to be. And I'm not saying blind sheep here. I'm saying people interested in their outcomes, accepting the possibility of complications, and accepting lack of perfection in the field. And when I say perfection, I mean you as you were when you were born. That is perfection. Whatever eye ailment you have, if you have to undergo surgery for it, there is a high chance that you, after surgery, you will not be like the day you were born in terms of comfort and vision and any physiological parameter you want to take into account. So yes, you will be better than you were. That is something you kind of have to provide as a caregiver. But you can provide perfection in most cases.
But where do you think these, let's say in general, these negative feelings emerge from? What is the starting point? People are becoming more and more self-centered. And being self-centered is not that bad, but they are sometimes trying to hurt other people in order to get up a social ladder, or being promoted, or I don't know, having a better car, apartment, everything like this. I really don't know why this is happening.
Well, I've seen it mostly in poorer countries like ours.
Okay.
It's so easy to think that if you hurt your fellow human, then it'll be better off for you. That if you put him down, then you will suddenly appear to be in a higher up position. If you try to subdue or undermine his intellect or his opinion, flame him or belittle him, then you're done. You're actually better than him. But that's not what real people do. Real people, real men, real leaders, they pull people up with them. They don't put others down. That is crucial. And what happens here is two-pronged. I believe in our system, is the fact that we've come after a long half a century of communism, which was a regime that encouraged people to do that, to rat each other out. And that is a trend that has been kept, and people that have lived and worked and have been active in those communist years have kept those customs and habits alongside them in the post-revolution years. So, yes, that is one thing. The other thing is poverty and a bad medical system.
Okay.
Where I'm still talking about medical system. Lack of resources, lack of research, and lack of opportunity is what drives people to believe that they don't have any possibility of evolving unless they are the only one eligible. So that's why they're trying to shove other people aside. So they end up being the only possible candidate for a certain post.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting approach. Maybe this could be the reason why some people shift their attention from knowledge to faith, because they've got beaten up so many times, and they think that they find an escape in that. They find something relieving in faith rather than just keep fighting and fighting.
This is like giving up, in my point of view. This is something semi-personal. Parents of somebody I once knew.
Okay.
I found them, they had given up on trying to make a better life for themselves. So it was I think it's comforting, it's easy, and should not be done. Giving up the fight. So the moment you give up the social fight, the professional fight, whatever fight you're having, whatever battle you're waging, whenever you say, okay, this is enough for me, I'm not going to do it any longer, the level I've come to is satisfactory, and I'm quite content with it. These are all toxic words: satisfaction, content. Yeah, you should keep on fighting till your last breath. Otherwise, what are you doing? You are living the same day as your previous one.
Yeah.
So this is what kind of defines life itself. Life is evolution. You should evolve as an individual every single day, in every single way you can, or you actually are inclined to do. So if your job is to be a lawyer, you should strive to be a better one each day and take on higher profile cases. If your job is an architect, try to get larger projects.
Without trying to step on others, just
of course. The only fight worth having is the one with yourself. So you need to be better than the person you were a week ago, yesterday, whenever you want to reference yourself against. Fighting against other people does not make you a better person and does not necessarily increase your odds of success.
Yeah.
So, especially this is the paradox of the poor countries and the poor regimes. Growth is attained when everybody tries to add value to the system, but fighting against each other removes value from the system.
Yeah.
That is a paradox that is very treacherous and is. Although it's a paradox, people don't see it, so they keep doing it. They fight against each other instead of fighting with themselves, trying to evolve. Because fighting with yourself is harder, much harder.
Yeah, because you have to admit that you have some drawbacks, you have some things that you have to work on, and it's easier to blame others for what
for
happening.
Your insufficiencies. And it's also very difficult to say if you're in a leadership position or in an academic post that there are some things you don't know, because you being in that position somehow tells you that you should know some things, when actually it's perfectly fine for everybody to not know some things.
Yeah.
I believe when I was a student, I was told, ask any questions you want now, because the moment you're becoming a resident, you can't ask the same questions again. That's BS. You can always ask any question you want. Asking questions is the key to advancing your knowledge.
And as you are referring to leaders, I think that the best leaders and the most effective ones are the ones who are the most curious, and they're asking even the dumbest questions.
Coming back, fundamental research.
Exactly. And do you think that, now coming back to all that negative feelings, do you think it's easier to have negative feelings or hate someone rather than, I don't know, be grateful for what you have or love someone? I think it's easier to have negative feelings than good one.
I think it's a slippery slope. If you start to do it, you're gonna keep doing it. Yeah, it's easy.
It's like a vicious circle.
Yeah,
it can be, because if you can, you can always do something else and see things from a different perspective. No one is having a gun in your head and say, I don't hate everyone and blame everyone for whatever is wrong in your life. And I really don't understand why people don't do that shift from hating, from using people, to helping them and see the other people grow. I really don't know.
Well,
and I don't know how can this be shifted.
Are you referring to something in particular, or just general?
No. I see this in each and every domain, aspects of our lives, everything.
One thing that comes to mind, again from the medical field, something that surgeons usually do is not teach their residents how to operate, because of fear of not being the only ones around doing that. And if this goes on a mass scale, then they will have fewer patients, because they have taught so many others to do surgery that they will not refer them back. So the value of truth in this is there. So it is technically, statistically at least, plausible that if you teach more people to do surgery, then less patients you will have because of that. But then you are the more experienced surgeon from the standpoint, because they were your residents, so you are older and more experienced than them. So what falls on you is the necessity to evolve and take on more difficult cases, more difficult strategic management of the patient, and more difficult surgeries overall.
Yeah, but
maybe you don't want to do that. So.
Yeah, because you have to step out of your comfort zone to
exactly.
do that, and it's not that easy to do things like this. And in the end, as a doctor, your mission, let's say, is to do good and spread good, and by learning as many people as you can to be equal or even better than you. I mean,
That's a hard step.
Yeah, but you've reached your purpose. I mean, that's why you are a doctor, to treat patients. And of course, you are limited. You are limited to a number of patients per day, per week, per month, per life. You cannot, let's say, if you're a surgeon, you cannot operate everybody. Of course, you have to see the bigger picture, and you don't have to consider yourself as the biggest and the most important thing in the universe, because of course you're not, and maybe you're not.
Most likely you aren't.
Of course you're not.
You always have to think that in the past or in the future there was somebody much better than you. You are standing on the shoulders of giants, people that have written the books you have read when you were in your training years. Yeah. Those people were more likely, I wouldn't say better, but they had a wider view of the world.
Yeah.
Most of the people that have written books weren't necessarily the best clinicians or the best surgeons. They were the best researchers, that is granted. They were the best academics. So whenever you think you know something, you always have to consider the fact that somebody has taught you. You are not self-taught, and you were not born taught.
Of course. And it comes back to exactly as you said, that you have to compete only with yourself and not look on the left and the right, see, oh my god, he's doing this, he's having that, I'm not. Maybe I'm less smart, I'm stupid, I'm not at that level. And everything comes to being aware of what you want, who you are, and where do you want to go, and what do you want to achieve.
Yeah.
It's that same competition that we have we as students, and I think you had it too, with the other students for the final rankings, and see.
I didn't have that.
You didn't have that?
Personally, no, I didn't. I couldn't care less.
Okay. That's the best approach. I've been experimenting for several years. I was totally exhausted in the first years with that, because it was like I was carrying something on my shoulders every day.
But this is about
the rankings of the
ranking,
the
and
budget and non-budget.
The budget, having to pay for education, or was it about
it's about paying for your studies
and also having the free lodgings in the student campus?
Yes, the non-budgeted students had to pay more for their accommodation. Yeah, but this was not the problem. The problem basically was the studies,
the
tax.
Okay. So what was that when? Like 2,000?
Yeah. Now it's 2,000.
2,000 euros.
Yeah.
Quite which hefty sum.
What?
Hefty sum.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with that, because you know that all universities have fees, and they are far more than this one. Any student can pay that fee if they are working part-time job for their studies period. I mean,
you can get paid 2,000 euros a month part-time.
Not a month. You pay it on a year.
Sorry, it's per year.
It's per year. So I think that you can manage with a bit of help to put that to earn that money. But it's like that the worst competition you can get, and in medical field, when you have to cooperate to evolve, to be a team, and to learn together, to learn from him, from her, and no, we are just trying to beat each other in order to have the biggest mark, so that I'm.
Yeah, I could see it happening, because you are actually. It's a contest. It is a contest. Now, speaking earnestly, because it's a contest, and we all know how exams are taken in our university, if all the exams and all the subfields of medicine we're studying were perfectly honest on all levels, so from the moment you're sitting in the exam in the classroom to the moment you're getting your final grades, if there is no corruption at any point, then you only have yourself to battle, and that's it. But because we know that's not the case, then you could see where animosity can come into play between members, because you were better friends with that guy, and that's why you got a better mark.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I'm saying that I think it would have been, I don't know. It's never been done, so it's just I just suppose that if every place was either budgeted or non-budgeted, I think that competition will be less fearful, let's say, and I think everyone would achieve more.
If everybody paid, that would be no competition at all.
Yeah. Or there was not paying at all. Every place is supported by the government, let's say, and no one is. I mean, I think that would encourage more that competition with yourself rather than this. I mean, it's competition everywhere, but it depends. I mean, I wouldn't be that stressed if I don't know, I would score a 7 if okay, I've studied for that. I don't need to, I don't know, to panic or to blame myself. I studied for that, I get that mark. It's just simple. But now, fortunately, I'm in the final year, so I'm not.
You don't care anymore.
Yeah, I don't care. But in the first years, it was not that easier. It's a strange feeling, especially if you have no medical background like I had and no medical, I don't know, insights from the university. Is not that easy, and it took me sometimes to figure out that I should have that competition with me and not with everybody and trying to prove things instead of learning things for myself. Yeah, which is not.
You're basically learning how to take exams, and you're not learning.
And you are losing some precious years.
A lot of years.
Yeah, no one is telling you that, and it's a pity. It really is, because it's all about knowledge.
6 years of pity.
Yeah. It's all about knowledge. It's about, after you finish, it's about doing good and being the best version of yourself in order to help other people. And I think I don't know anything more noble than that. I mean, yeah. Why teachers don't tell this to us, I really don't know. But maybe it will change.
Well, if you're in the mindset of competing and not falling off a budgeted spot, then you don't listen to those things. You only care about the budget.
You're right. Now I'd like to ask you something about you. I always do this in the interviews, trying to know my guest a little bit more. And now that we have covered these subjects, what's your biggest regrets?
I've seen this question on the questionnaire before starting the interview, and I had two variants of responding. One was I couldn't say, as in terms of I don't know if I have one biggest regret.
Not the biggest regret, something that you wish you have done differently, or
that's what I mean by regret.
Yeah.
Something that I wish I had done differently. I don't know if that is the case. It all comes down to career choice, because any other thing, there is a lot of leeway to redeem yourself in smaller things. But I'm talking about big decisions in life. I guess I would have been slightly better off, not much more better off, but just slightly better off if I had moved out of my parents' place earlier than I'm going to, because I'm going to do that in 2 months. Still haven't done it. That would be one, let's say, regret. Not a big deal though. What else? Still don't regret career choice. This may be yet to come in future years, but for the moment I'm content with what I've chosen.
Career as in
medical career, yeah, not necessarily field. I would have been as good as a programmer as I consider myself to be a doctor.
Yeah, but you can shift anytime you want.
Yeah, I guess I can. Because programmers, developers don't have this much of a formal education. They sometimes do, but I do have it because the high school I went to was informatics based, so we did a lot of that, and this was one of my biggest hobbies back then. So I could say I have that background, no problem in shifting whenever I feel like it. Yeah, I could do that. So I don't really have that many regrets, to be honest.
I think that's nice. Yeah.
I sleep very well at night.
That's very good. And what other hobbies do you have besides, let's say, programming?
besides programming, I play guitar a lot.
Okay.
This place we're in actually was one of the places I used to rehearse with my...
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
One of the colleagues that kind of lives across the street, she's pregnant now, so she doesn't do any more singing. We used to come here and practice our songs, and we had this plan of visiting all sorts of cafes and bars and doing this duo guitar voice thing.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of guitar do you play?
Well, any kind, it's just the same thing.
Do you prefer, I don't know, electric guitar, classic guitar?
It's no preference. I play mostly acoustic guitar.
Okay.
Mostly. But there's no real difference. It's the same instrument anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not that keen into electric. I find that acoustic has a lot of range and timbre that the electric one, you only need a lot of pedals and amps to do that, to reach anything. And most of the things that the electric players know how to do is how to set up their pedal board. So most of the technique and finesse of being an strictly electric guitar player, which doesn't really exist because everybody plays both instruments. But if you're mostly in a rock band and play electric guitar, then you're mostly dealing with your pedal board and effects rather than the actual playing on the neck.
Okay.
Whereas when you're an acoustic guitar player, you mostly deal with your actual playing.
Okay.
Right. And what else do I do? A lot of mountain hiking.
Mm-hmm.
Not climbing, hiking, but no extreme stuff.
Okay.
Skiing, basketball, I used to do that. Don't do it anymore. Not enough time. Bulk of my time is being spent working on a project I have with something strictly non-related to anything. I code for a game server in Java. It's a client-server app.
Nice.
It's very stressful stuff. It is one of the most stressful hobbies I've had.
Okay.
I'm the admin of a game server, and I need to keep that running properly. Don't know if it's very interesting for you to hear, but it's one of the semi-obsessive compulsive thing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't bring any joy into my life.
And you're doing it why?
For no reason.
Okay. That's an honest answer.
Yeah.
And having all that, how does your day look like?
Well, every morning except this one, except Thursdays, I wake up and go to the hospital. So this means I wake up at about 7, get to the hospital about 8:30. Depending on the day, do different things. Most days, like 4 days out of these 5, I work. I see patients. Mondays we have admissions. Tuesdays we do surgery. Wednesdays we have releases, and then I have simple consultations in the afternoon, which kind of take up a lot of my afternoon on Wednesdays, and get home later in the late afternoon. Thursday is my day off, and I do whatever I have to do. I have presentations, reading, or hobby stuff, or casual home-related activities. Then Friday is another consultation day, and sometimes I also go in the private sector on Fridays.
What advice you'd give to the 20-year-old you or to the younger you?
Isn't this related to regrets?
If you judge with the mind and the experience that you have right now, something that you did, 10, 15 years ago, it will never be, it's not okay, it's not the best approach. But let's say if you can turn back in time with this experience.
Like if I could shift now, I'm instantly 11 years younger, what do I do?
Yeah. And having all the experience that you had now.
Well, that would be kind of cheating at life, wouldn't it? Because it would be very awesome to do that.
Yeah, we can imagine, we can do anything we want.
Wow.
If we imagine it, so.
Well, I would be instantly much more confident in myself. Self-confidence was something I struggled with a lot in my formative years. Still do a bit now. It's mostly over with. Mm-hmm. Alcohol helped a lot. So having that, I would be much more at ease with myself and would be less of a... I believe I haven't taken quite full advantage of my college years when you should have had, much more fun than I did. Well, this was also related to some unhappy events I had in my life back then, which I will not discuss, but always getting a hit to your self-confidence brings with it a simple lower life standard for you in all domains.
Yeah.
If I can if I were to port back 11 years, then I would have much more self-confidence than I had then, which would set me up for a better life.
Yeah, so basically you would tell yourself just be a bit more relaxed.
Yeah, not necessarily relaxed, but grounded, based on experience and knowing that whatever you do, as long as it's not radical, there is always hope and a way out, and any failure is not the end. This is crucial. When you're young, you think that the slightest, at least I did, the slightest failure is the end of a certain road, which of course it never is.
Yeah, I did that, and I sometimes do. Yeah, I know.
Whenever it's the first opportunity to do something, you feel the pressure of having to succeed on the spot, which is kind of unfair to yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're not well equipped to do that.
Of course.
So whenever you fail at something on your first go, then that's a major hit.
Yeah.
That would not happen if I were to be 20 again.
Yeah, okay. And my last question for you would be, how would you like to be remembered?
So I'm dead now.
Yeah.
We're at my funeral. Okay. I would like to be the guy if I were to die here in Romania.
Okay.
I've lived here.
Okay.
Traveled, did my business, and now I'm dead. I would like people to remember me as a guy that made change in the system he worked in. So whatever is, I die as a doctor, or I die as a programmer, or I die as unemployed, or whenever that happens, I would have wanted to make a significant change in the field I had worked in.
Okay.
Be it, if that is ophthalmology, I would like to be the one that has brought back corneal transplantations on a large scale in our hospital. Mm-hmm. If I were to do programming, I would like to be, for example, the guy that brought what do you call that medic chat thing?
The medic chat?
The medic chat thing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. So medic chat is one of the hobbies. Yeah. It's an app that links patients to doctors via an Uber-type interface with cost associated to it. So patients ask the questions are given to the doctors, and doctors answer them in due time for a fee. This is very widespread in the UK and the USA. In the UK, it's called Babylon, and in the USA, I forgot what it's called, but it has a name there as well, and it's a monopoly, kind of a monopoly. Mm-hmm. So that is something that is not currently implemented in the Eastern Bloc because of not necessarily laws that prohibit it, but they don't encourage it. Okay. That's for sure.
So you like to draw more awareness.
Draw more awareness to this, and with it, every time there's a concession, like it was with Uber. So now Uber is perfectly legal in this part of the world. And this is a concession because technically Romanians, whenever they go abroad, they're the best people, they're the best employees, they're the ones bringing in change. But whenever they're back home, they don't do anything. Why? Because they're being put down. So if you can fight against this oppression I'm not necessarily talking about political oppression, simply not being allowed to do certain things. Like
even on smaller levels.
Small level, calmly, no rights about, just being prohibited, being red taped, denied. Okay. But if I can change that in the field I would be working in when I'm dead, that would be success to me, because I would have made a difference. Okay. So that is something most people want to do. They want to be remembered for having left the world a better place than it was when they came into it. It's very simple, and most people just try to do that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was a real pleasure for me.
Well, thank you for having me and inviting me.
Yeah, and I hope that we will have another episode someday on different other topics, of course.
Most definitely.
Thank you.